Hey guys, today we're going to talk about something that is a little closer to home for me than movies misremembered. I am the Duke of Alex, but I am also a blind law student. And so today we're going to be discussing my top 10 law school tips and tricks for going to law school blind. Because it does happen, it does occur, shockingly enough. I've personally met a federal judge who went to law school blind. Uh, First off, what is blindness to those out there? Blindness is what I'm speaking about in legal terms is legal blindness. Now, past the concept of legal blindness, if you're an ophthalmologist, once you're legally blind, there is nothing past that point. There are not, descriptions of different levels of blindness. And if you say, "Oh, you're just legally blind," every blind person is legally blind, and a legally blind person is blind. Like I'm going to be 100% blind one day. I feel like since this is a law video, I should get into the nuances of that particular instance. So, either you have 20, 800 vision or whatever, or you're full dark, no vision. Well, my brother, who is fully blind now in his later years, he does blind prime. Check him out over at Blind Prime. Full dark, no stars. That's his statement on it, and that's full 100% no light sensitivity. So in that spectrum right there, yeah, legally blind, and that's where I am, which is where all blind people are. So if you are legally blind, or you're just interested in law school, here's my top 10 tips. So tip number one, Quimby. Enough said. I did not know about Quimby in my earlier years at law school. That was a humongous mistake on my part. My cohort knew very well about Quimby. Quimby is a legal educational system which will allow you to fill in gaps in your reading schedule by getting cases synopsized to you in bite-sized chunks. They have videos on them for most cases, especially almost all the cases, I believe, in 1L year. And so let's say the professor says, and by the way, check out Gary V. Owens, but that we're just glance it, just glaze over it. We're not gonna, get too deep into the weeds on that one. Those are the ones I get nervous about because the professor wants you to look at it. The professor has gone ahead and stated everything said in class is open game for the final. Then the professor discounts it so much that I bet 90% of the class will never touch it. 10% of the class read everything and are very stressed out all the time. And I cannot imagine that fate because I cannot physically achieve that. I can't read everything all of the time. So those in the middle there, I like to be the 89th percentile. I'm going to use Quimby, and I'm going to just check out that little snapshot of that case, listen to it a few times while I'm usually in transport to and from law school. Which brings me to the second thing. Get your textbooks early, because after you get your textbook, that's when you're going to need to apply for your digital textbook, your accommodation through the DRC. Take it from somebody who's been through that process with publishers not cooperating with disability resource centers. It takes a while. Took one time 7 weeks. And if you have a 16-week semester and it takes you 7 weeks to get your textbook, they're going to tell you things like, yeah, you can retake the class. Then they're going to make you wait a couple of years to actually retake the class. I'll let you know how I do next semester. But it's not just textbooks. You're going to want to do everything early. You do have a competitive edge on your cohort. You can be single-minded. They cannot. You can plod along like the proverbial donkey or ass in a parable, if you will. They cannot. They have 20 different irons in the fire. We have the benefit of only seeing one thing at a time. Have I missed meetings with professors? Yes. Do I make sure to never miss a meeting with a professor I'm currently taking this semester or will take in the future? Yes. I only miss meetings with professors I've taken in the past. And that has happened a few times. And yeah, man, all my electronic preparedness did not prepare me for that one time that My phone said it was going to be Veterans Day, but did not tell me about the thing that was happening on that Tuesday, even though it should have. Even though it should have. I know it should have. It didn't. So the calendar app has a fallacy to it. I guess that's your bonus tip of the day. When you're utilizing your calendar app, go ahead and utilize a backup as well. The best backup I found is my wife. I tell her, and then she keeps track of everything for me. That's not good though for her, I think, because it does add more onto her plate, and she already has a pretty full one all the time. So third tip. So that's do everything early. Just pretend if there's a deadline that's midway through next week, the deadline is tomorrow at midnight. And then tomorrow, between that evening and the next evening, you have to decide, is this worth my time or shall I not think about it? Then you can pretend you missed the chance, and if somebody brings it up and you're like, actually, I really do want to do that, you might actually have time to do that. That kind of stuff, you'll miss out on a lot of stuff if you try to wait until the actual deadline. Because I guarantee if it's next Wednesday, you will have so much reading dumped on you Tuesday evening that there's nothing else in your mind. There's just nothing else. The professor says, oh, by the way, next chapter is going to be very important for your final. Right there, if you didn't get just a stone dropped into the middle of your chest, you're not in law school yet. So, third thing, learn the lingo. Terms of art are not just real, but you can utilize them on your finals and in your papers, and they make you sound like an attorney. And the more you sound like an attorney, the higher your grade's probably going to be in law school. That's just it. I don't know that for a fact, but it's pretty good that they want you to sound like an attorney. So terms of art, defendant with a D-A-N-T, not D-E-N-T. D-A-N-T, defendant. It's criminal defense attorneys, and they have defendants. And that's the thing is, that was in civil procedures, and the professor must have said defendant like that with that little kick on the end, perhaps 50 times, maybe more, in that class, and you remember almost everything the professor says. So that's what is so important. You learn the lingo. Don't just learn the legal lingo. Here's my tip to you. Here's the big tip. Learn the lingo of what the professors that you're currently taking use in class. If they say so many files, just add that to the docket. We'll add that one to the docket. We'll add that one to the docket. A docket is a list of instances or occurrences which happen in a legal case. That's my layman's description of a docket. You can tell, I don't even know what a docket is, but I'll say add that to the docket. Let's add that to the docket. Let's put that one on the docket. Meaning, we're going to do that. That's going to get done. That's part of my to-do list now. And that's the thing, is the more you speak the lingo of attorney, the faster you're going to steep yourself in the culture of law here in the United States of America. It's very important. And again, with the professors, I personally believe it's very important to learn your professor. I have a professor right now who loves the Michigan Lions. I don't know what the Michigan Lions are currently. I have to still look that up. I intend to look that up, and if I can find a way to talk about the Michigan Lions on my final exam, I don't think I could, but I am the guy who wrote, well, slap a donkey, we have a case. On a final. I made an A in that class. You probably shouldn't take my advice. So, 4, contact the DRC. Accommodations are necessary for blind individuals. Do not think that just I'm blind light. I don't have, full blindness. I don't have no light sensitivity. I have some light sensitivity. Oh, I can walk around in the world and not use a cane. Always use your cane. Bonus tip number 2. Always use your cane. Okay? You have no idea who's watching you, and look, using your cane keeps you from hurting yourself, hurting somebody else, kicking a trash can, or, I'm a blind individual. I'm just going to lay my cards on the table. Looking foolish. And if you look foolish, and you don't have a reason to have looked foolish, you will be judged for it. We're in law school. They judge. Guess what judges do exclusively? They judge. They're kind of used to judging. They're also used to being in complete control, and you will notice that when you hang out with judges, they're some of the nicest people because it's such a kind conversation and stuff, and it's because in their professional life, I mean, their word is it's not law because the Supreme Court could overrule it, the appeals court could overrule it, but for the most part, their word could literally be law in that if the Supreme Court agrees with them and the appeals court agrees with them, well, you know what, that's judicially binding. That's very intriguing. So imagine you are just a county level judge. Everyone in that judicial circuit is going to, you see how I'm throwing out legal terms, judicial circuits? Those are the districts upon which courts are located. A judicial circuit, think of it like a county, but a judicial circuit usually spreads over multiple counties. Wyoming's one of my favorite states. Not my favorite state. My favorite state would be Florida because I'm weird like that and I live here. But Wyoming's my favorite state because they don't have multiple, they instead of Florida, we have like 26 circuits, I think, and then you have so many appeals, 13 or so, 12, somewhere in that range, 16. Then you have the Florida Supreme Court. In Wyoming, it just goes like a few circuits, one appeals court, one Supreme Court. Maybe just one circuit, one appeals, one Supreme. Pretty interesting structure there. It's just very vertically integrated. That is not a legal term. That's a business term. But you can use that one too if you take any business classes in law school, which they exist. So we're going to learn the lingo. That's number 3. Number 4, contact the DRC. Accommodations are necessary. Okay, I already finished with 3. I'm on 4. Basically, the Disability Resource Center are the ones you're going to go to for testing accommodations, for class accommodations, for your textbook to be given to you in a format that you can utilize it. They are a very extensive and inclusive program. But the one thing I found out about the DRC in a nutshell is they do not always, depending on where you go with the institution, understand the nuances of the legal grading system. Because law school is graded vastly different than any other educational program in the United States of America. I tried to find one that was similar, and if you're aware of one, please leave it in the description down below in the comments. But the way that they do the curve, and we will have an entire video upon the curve later, is wholly unique to the law school experience. In fact, I bet plenty of videos have talked about the curve out there, and they did a better job than I can, so watch them. But that's wholly unique, and that's why accommodations are almost essential to your law school journey, because of the sole fact that you will, if you were to be put up against 300 sighted individuals and you are blind, any level of blind, and you were asked to load a dishwasher moving at your regular speed, and they were asked to load that same dishwasher moving at their regular speed, you would probably end up in the 20 to 30th percentile, depending on how often you've trained loading dishwashers. Now, then let's say you were tasked with going from point A to point B in a shopping mall, and you were dropped off at the entrance. I guarantee you'd probably be in the lower 10%, or even the 0 to 10% of that group. And that's because I can personally walk by the house I've lived in for 2 years and, so if I can walk by my own house, I can walk by a store in the mall multiple times without seeing it. The other people are not going to be paying attention. And that's the other 10% in this situation. Now, I said 1 to 300 sighted individuals. Now, when you take 300 law students who have all passed the LSAT with the same level that you've done theoretically, all have a GPA that is equivalent to yours or greater than, and all, or less than in some instances, and all have the drive to be in law school longer than the first week. I have personally gone to the bookstore to buy a soda and had to stand in line behind somebody day one, first day of classes, who was passing in their stack of textbooks and returning them because they took one law class and left. And that's shocking because what did you think you were getting into? You worked, I mean, we all worked really hard to be here. The people who don't want to be here are gone. Now you're left with the people who want to be here. That's when you find out that you're going to be the last one finding that store in the mall. And that's once you realize that, once you really take a hard look at that sort of thing, you gotta you gotta know that the accommodations are necessary. It's important that when you walk up to the map that everyone else can read with their eyes, you push a button and it reads the map out loud to you. Look at that little accommodation. Now it's not a game of who can see the store in the mall. It's a game of who can follow directions the best. And I put you in the 20 to 70th percentile there because that's just, some people are not going to be geographically educated enough to know that this store is west of the Dunkin' Donuts. Well, that's west? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So we're going to find Dunkin', and oh man, what's west of Dunkin'? Well, it's to the, you see, it's that way's west, so it's best for you. Number 5, time management. As you can tell, I'm having a very good morning. I am not crunched for time. I separate my days into will I be crunched, will I not be crunched. Do you hear that creaky chair? Do you hate that creaky chair? I hate that creaky chair too. I spent a lot of time in this chair. You're going to spend a lot of time in chairs moving forward. So your time management is so vastly important. I bought a watch. I didn't need this watch so much as it was a must-have. So it's not even a need. I lost this watch for a number of days. Do you see how great that shows up? 9:37. I can read that time. That's utterly amazing. I don't know. Did you see it there? There you go. So here's why I use my watch. Timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, counting down.
Double check it. That's 15 minutes. I'm going to do 15 minutes. I'm going to do this for 20 minutes. I'm going to do this for 25 minutes. It's right here. I can actually read it. I went from being blind and not having time to having time on my wrist. Watches are not just amazing. Smart watches are amazing. The ability for you to constantly and always be able to set a timer for yourself is going to be essential, because time is nothing more than gold little blue coins that shine in the darkness, and you take those coins and you put them into a slot and you never get them back. And every coin is 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, whatever timer you want to put it at. I can't do anything in 5 minutes. My lowest chunk of time is 15. That goes back to me being blind. If you're not blind, maybe 5 minutes is enough for you to actually read a case. Jeez Louise, I could not fathom it. Or I could watch a Quimby video. So I guess I can do things in 5 minutes. It's a Quimby video. So you see, time management is essential, and it is so important to start that early and start a structure and have a structure for your life, because that structure is going to fall apart in your first year, 1L. I mean, it is going to be absolutely decimated. But I want you to have it because I want you to know what it's like, because in your 2L and 3L, you can build it back up. And to quote current 3L students in my law school, I'm tired of law school. I want to get through with this. I just want to be done. Let's go on. I made a C in that. I don't even care. It's like, whoa, wow, okay. Well, you have a job lined up. It's, life is that way now for you, because it is a humongous journey to get through law school, get to the end. But after a certain point, that sprint you start off as, it turns into a marathon, but you already pulled a hamstring, so you're just limping along. You got to get through, though. Let's go to number 6. Speaking of getting through, prioritize office hours. You want to spend as much time with the professors as humanly possible without it getting strange. Don't bump into them randomly in the hallway and want to talk to them for 10 minutes, unless they're open to that. I have met professors who do that. But law school is all about time. Respect their time, and they, your time is cheap. So respect their time. Go to the office hours. Sometimes professors would leave their doors open, and I'd ask them, I'd knock on the door. I'm like, hey, the door's open. Do you mind if I come in and chit chat for a minute? Those are the times when you can talk about things that are not related to class, 100%. I always try to finish every instance by talking with things that are not related to law, but in a fun way, unless you can find a way to discuss things that are not related to law that they have brought up naturally in the conversation or they've touched on. And for instance, one of the professors says, my young daughter is in 5th grade, and that's real interesting year. They're in safety patrol. It's really difficult, that sort of thing, or not difficult, but it's very exciting. And I go, okay, well, great. My daughter's in safety patrol too, over at blankety blank school. Where does yours go? All of a sudden, you started a repertoire. They know a bit more about you without you having to just throw it out there. My favorite thing to do that is you mix the two. For instance, my daughter started reading Black's Legal Dictionary, and one day my daughter was sitting there eating their dinner, and Evan leaned over and took a chicken nugget from my daughter. Evan's my eldest, and she slammed the table. It was me and them. Slammed the table and screamed. That was, man, what was the terminology? That was theft. I think it was larceny. That was larceny. And I'm going to sue you, and that is illegal. And it's like, whoa, okay, we don't scream at the dinner table. 1, 2, I'm proud of you. You've been doing your legal research. That's phenomenal. 3, they are completely correct. You owe them a nugget. And it all worked out. But that's the kind of thing. I brought that up to a professor. Oh, did we laugh? That was a super cute moment. That's the kind of things you bring up. Make sure they're natural. If you're not feeling it, don't feel it. Don't force anything. Just show up there, talk about the class. You don't want to come off as somebody blowing smoke, but you do want to be engaging and personable enough that they know your name. They know who you are. And no, that will not assist you on the final exam. Most of these things are anonymously graded. Most, if not all of them, 100% are anonymously graded, meaning the professor does not know which test is attached to which student. And that's very well done for them. Kudos. Again, I will loop this back around to accommodations are necessary. Period. But it's a very good thing to do, because you will learn the way your professor thinks about their aspect of law. You can take 3 criminal law professors, you can get 3 distinct outlooks on criminal law. You will have 3 vastly different final exams with 3 extraordinarily different grading, grading things. What do you call that? Not an outline. Has an actual name. You'll learn it in law school, but you will sometimes have the chutzpah to ask if you can see that before the final happens. Not the one that they're going to use, just one that they've used in the past. Grading criteria, something like that. I don't know, but it's if you get to see them, like sometimes I've had professors who gave me midterms, and then they gave me that after the midterm. So you can look at your grade and what you were supposed to have put on there, and it's like, this is gold. This is worth 1,000 times its weight in gold. Because this is the professor letting you see what's in the professor's mind. And not all professors do that. My favorite professors are the ones who wrote the textbook or are giving you a text that they wrote. And it's because that's the way they think. That is how they think. You replicate how they think. If you can ever have a professor literally nodding along with what you're saying when they're reading your final exam, golden. Have I ever seen that happen? No, I'm blind, so I don't watch a whole lot of things. But I've never, ever contemplated the visual of a professor grading an exam. I can imagine, though, if you're reading a magazine article that you agree with, you'd go, yeah, okay. which is, eventually something they're going to have to do. Now, if they read the same paragraph 300 times, because that's, I mean, how many times, how many ways can you give the elements of a test from a judge? There's only so many different ways to do that. So that's in a nutshell. Prioritize office hours. Learn the lingo, and you're going to learn your professor's lingo. That's important. I like mirroring back to my professor at times. Do not overtax your resources. Ask sparingly. As a blind individual going to law school, I could ask for something that is going to assist me every week. I know if I asked my person at DBS every week, I would get very little that could assist me. So I won't ask my DBS person every week. I'll ask them once a semester, if not once a year, for something new, interesting, or extraordinarily useful. My resources financially are very limited. I'm blind, but I do have the benefit of being on SSDI, which is disability income, and not SSI. If you're blind in this nation, you're most likely on one of those two things, or you're working your fingers to the bone. Hats off go to you, the working blind. I aspire to be you one day. So that's what is important, is you don't want to overtax your resources, meaning DBS, but also meaning your cohort at law school. Cohort is the word that they give for the group of people that you're involved with. And this is going to kind of go into our next point, talk to everyone all the time. I have talked to everyone. I've put myself out there, and I have attempted to put together a reputation for being a nice guy, because I am just naturally a nice guy, but also I do my best to be intelligent, and I guess it does help that naturally I am these sorts of, extroverted is the wrong word, but I do like talking to people. And I do have the significant advantage of not being able to see who I'm talking to. So I treat everyone the exact same, regardless of anything. Because I have I can't bring an expectation to the table whenever I'm talking to somebody. And that's helped me a whole lot more than you would possibly think. Now, this is my first semester where I had a professor actually, we got all the way through class and we ended it, and they said, "I didn't know you were blind." I was like, "I'm pretty sure I told you I was blind, but thanks, I guess." That's, I'm like, when you pointed at me, and then there was this long pause, and then somebody like whispered to me that it was my turn, and then I responded to you, "What did you think?" He said, "I thought you were quirky." I was like, "Okay, well, I am quirky." So talk to everyone all the time. That's tip number 8, but it goes back to ask sparingly. I literally got ghosted by my Lyft ride. That has been happening more and more and more lately. And I was sitting there. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to Uber home. We go back to don't overtax your resources. I have an Uber budget. I do not like using it because then it's gone. And I have no Uber budget. And then I have to take things away from other budgets. You see how that works? So I'm sitting there thinking, should I do my Uber budget? Should I try to catch a bus at night? Should I ask my in-laws to come get me? And a student walks by, and the student goes, "Oh, hey, Alex, what's going on? What's up?" And I go, "Oh, hey, I just got ghosted by my Lyft ride. That's insane." And he goes, "Yeah, you need a Lyft?" "Yes, I do." And he gave me a ride. And that is, I guess, the entire point of what Lyft was trying to go for whenever they were first created. But it's also more of a significant benefit from not overtaxing resources. I'd had 2 years of classes with this individual. I had never asked them for anything, but I had talked to them all the time. This person, super cool person, literally has the name of the god of death in the Egyptian religion, which is pretty cool. That's his legal name. Man, there's sometimes you just can't. There are some names out there you just can't beat. So that's it. Talk to everyone all the time. If you're introverted, you're now in law school. You will have to find a way to be temporarily extroverted. And if you don't want to be, Completely fine. Make excellent grades and go into big law. And that definitely works in big law. And they will I have no idea what they will do because I've never gotten to big law. Probably never will. One day, I'll own a firm. We'll call that firm Big Law, and that's how I'll get into big law. Okay. Now, tip number 9: work for free. I have found it very difficult to get an internship, so don't just go without an internship. But at the end of the day, have relationships you've made with local attorneys, and you're able to work for them for free, and you can find somebody who is young and hungry and needs an extra hand around the office and does not care that you move slightly slower than other individuals, which is what happens. Because whenever I got my first internship, I was able to do things and see things. I was able to zoom in on my MacBook because I zoom in on my textbooks constantly. And all of a sudden, I'm able to zoom in on a security footage, just like zoop. Oh, look right there. You see that? And then do it frame by frame. And it blew my attorney away. They were fascinated. The term "my attorney," that's going to be, again, back to 3, learn the lingo. Once you have your first internship, you will, whenever you're given an internship, you're going to have an attorney who's like your main attorney, and you're going to refer to them as "my attorney." it's a little strange, but it's just the way law school goes. Tip number 10, the final tip: don't get too distracted, but get distracted. You cannot afford to get too distracted. It does not help. It doesn't assist you in any way, shape, or form. But being distracted a little bit, that's okay. And that's because being a little distracted means you're going to blow off some steam. You are going to be able to put down this legal journey for just a moment. You're going to be able to go do something else. What do? I have made it almost a hard and fast rule in my life. I play 15 to 20 minutes of my Nintendo Switch every night. And if you think an 80 to 120 hour RPG is long when you're sighted and it takes you 80 to 120 hours, do that thing blind. It's intensive, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It's what I do. And to be completely honest with you and a little vulnerable, playing video games is a way of taking back control, in specifically when you're in the legal world, in kind of a sense of things that feel like it's out of control, because things are, for the most part, going to be vastly out of your control. When you're a lawyer, things will be out of your control. You will make motions, you will ask the court blank, you will do this, you will put that stuff forward, and then you will wait. Isn't that fun? So, that's been my top 10 tips for going to law school blind. Let me know what you think down in the description below. I keep saying description, I mean comments. You guys know what's up. It is a pleasure to meet you. I am the Duke of Alex. This has been your weekly law school. I don't even know how long this was. 10 minutes? 15? Have a wonderful day. Godspeed in law school. And I will see y'all later. Bye, y'all.